Hi, best friend. My name is Samuel Jones, and I'm your spiritual BFF, aka your good Ju-Judy. And today, got my notes, we're going to be talking about generational curses. So, in the biblical circle, right, generational curses is something that comes up more often than any other philosophy or religion that I'm aware of. And to talk about what a generational curse is, essentially it is a negative pattern that happens within a family across generations. So, let's say that a generational curse is that relationships in a particular family always end up in divorce if you're female. So, your grandmother's marriage ended up in divorce. Your mom's marriage ended up in divorce, and now it looks like you're about to get a divorce, or you're afraid it's going to happen to you because it seems that you're afflicted and your whole family is afflicted by this generational curse, right? Okay. So, generational curses are a real thing. However, it is a lot more practical and a lot more simple to solve and to break a generational curse than most people realize. So when it comes to generational curses, the first thing that you need to do is get objective. Get as objective as possible. And I find that one of the easiest ways to do that is to look at your family and write about your family as if it is a story, whether it's a plot for a show, whether it is, something out of Grimm's fairy tales, like whatever is easiest for you to write about and whatever detaches you the most from your family while still maintaining interest as far as what's going on. That way, you're able to mitigate some of the bias and see things a little bit more clearly. Something else that I want you to consider is how far back does the generational curse go? Because if you can find out who it started with, that'll give you a lot more information, especially if you can learn more about their life. If you can learn more about their life, that means that you can see the surrounding events happening that precipitated the very beginning of this generational curse. So let's talk about generational curses themselves, right? I would divide them up in like two different categories as far as how they tend to manifest, right? Or really three. Now that I think about it, it would be three. There would be physical generational curses, such as, illnesses, such as accidents, things like that. There would be emotional generational curses, where a family is known for being emotionally volatile. Maybe there's a lot of issues with anger. Maybe there's a lot of, depression. And then there's mental generational curses that go into the realm of mental illness. Depression bleeds into that, but maybe even things like schizophrenia, for instance, right? So the reason why it's important to break them down into those three categories is because they actually align with the chakra system. So in order to ground things a little bit more and to empower you to be able to research more, I wanted to create this correspondency between the two. So when it comes to chakras 1 through 3, so that is our root, our solar plexus, and our sacral right in between them, right? It's our first three. Those are the most physical chakras that we have and the ones that connect us to, the physical world more than any of the others. So if you're dealing with a physical generational curse, check out those chakras within yourself and if possible, other people in your family that's afflicted by those generational curses that happen to be physical, and see if you can find any common thread when it comes to the first three chakras throughout everyone afflicted with that curse. For example, when it comes to the root chakra, that usually has to do with your foundations, feeling like you're a part of a tribe, like you're a part of your family, the right to exist, just being and existing in life. When it comes to your second chakra, which is your sacral chakra, that is building one-on-one relationships. That is some people will even say that that's the money chakra. Depending on where you go, some people will say that's the first chakra. Some people will say that that's the second chakra. But the second chakra is also the first place where creativity begins to form. And then when it comes to your third chakra, which is your solar plexus, that's all about self-esteem. That's all about how you exert your power upon the world to shape it into something that better suits you, that fits the image that you're trying to create, right? So if you're dealing with a physical generational curse, research those first three chakras and see what it is that you come up with. Now, there's only one chakra that I'm going to mention when it comes to emotional generational curses, and that is the heart. Now, what's interesting about the heart chakra, right, is that when it comes to these 7 basic chakras, since this number 4 is right in the middle, and even if you look at the color that the heart chakra typically is, which is green, it is a combination of the lower chakra, which is the solar plexus, is yellow, and the higher one, which is your throat chakra, which is a light blue. So when you combine yellow with blue, you get green. So even in a visual way, right, it's connecting everything from the bottom to everything at the top. And through your heart center, through your emotional center, that is kind of like the communication switchboard of your energetic body. That's how your body communicates with all of the other parts when it comes to the energetic body, right? So if you are dealing with emotional generational curses, research the heart chakra and everything that it represents. It usually represents love in a grander sense, like beyond love for one person or beyond your family or your tribe, like your lower chakras would. This is love for larger things like a community, the world, really big stuff. And it also has to do with self-love as well. So look into that if you're dealing with some emotional generational curses. Then of course, when it comes to the mental generational curses, those will be the top 3 chakras. So we're going to be dealing with the throat, we're going to be dealing with the third eye, and then also the crown. So when it comes to the throat, this is all about telling the truth. This is all about speaking your truth. It's all about, manifestation through your word. And it's interesting because when you're going from the lower chakra up, it's about manifestation through what you do with your hands. That's what that solar plexus is about, is the work that you do with your hands to create a world that is more suitable for you. But when it comes to the throat, it's about taking everything that you're receiving and creating a world that you're speaking into existence. It's almost like the pre-creation. It's the things that you think, it's the things that you believe, right, before you actually do it. It's kind of like how the mind controls the body, right? So then we have the third eye chakra, which has to do about inner vision and the way that affects outer vision. It is the seat of ideas and where they become more refined. It's about clearly seeing the world and having the capability of looking through illusions. Discernment lives in your third eye. And then also we have the crown chakra at the very top. That has to do with your connection to God. That has to do with your connection to like pure life force. It's called chi, it's called, ki or kai, it's called prana, it's called all kinds of things, but that is where your life force comes through, that, or even where your spirit like enters and exits your body, according to some religions, that animates all the rest of your body. And the thing is that if the spirit isn't there, if the soul is sick, if the soul ain't right, it doesn't matter how well everything else is functioning. You're essentially a vegetable that is perfectly healthy, but still a vegetable if you don't have a soul. So when you're dealing with mental generational curses, check out those top 3 chakras, okay? So how do you actually break them? I told you what a generational curse is. I also explained how you can locate them, right? So as far as how you actually can break a generational curse, I have a few resources for you. For one, there is a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, or you can find You Can Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. It is a common point of reference as far as how your energy body, how your thoughts, your emotions, how your habits affect your physical body. It talks about essentially how, the generational curse of anger, let's say that you've isolated it to anger. You can actually find different symptoms and diseases in this list that she's created to see the different illnesses that it corresponds to, so that'll help you diagnose. But also, as far as actually, let's say, solving the generational curse, right? One thing that I did want to throw in there is that when it comes to your involvement in it, keep in mind that a family is a system. It is an organism, essentially, all within of itself that you're born into. So what this means is that 9 times out of 10, this was a fully oiled, already running machine by the time that you were born. And members of the family had to figure out how to fit you into something that was already existing before you. This is the reason why when it comes to certain characteristics you may have, certain interests, talents, and abilities, even if they may actually be positive objectively or to the rest of the world, if it doesn't fit into that machine or that organism that is your family, if it's not compatible with everything else that's already there, that organism as a whole will reject those things. And that's why certain aspects of who you are will be discouraged, right? That's one way that generational curses are able to live on and continue to affect people down the line, is because instead of the individual changing the family changes the individual. And the environment that you're a part of greatly influences you. And we don't know stuff like this. Is really easy to be shaped by your environment instead of the other way around. So really, just knowing something like this will give you an edge to be able to back away and at least strip that generational curse from yourself. Now, I consider myself to be an advocate of allied health. Yes, I am a part of the spiritual community, but when it comes to Western medicine and when it comes to things adjacent to it, I still believe in that stuff. When it comes to Western medicine, it is great for if you are in a crisis. If you're having a heart attack, or at least me, if I'm having a heart attack, I would rather go to an ER rather than me trying to sit down and feel my feelings to get to the root cause of that heart attack. See, when it comes to like energy medicine, it's really good for handling things long term. It's really good for getting to the root. It's really good for preventative measures. But when it comes to Western medicine, if you're already too far gone, that's that emergency brake that you can pull up to save your life as you're still doing the spiritual work to clear whatever root cause actually precipitated whatever illness that you have. That's how I look at it. So one of those things that I would like to recommend, which I actually consider to be a very spiritual thing, even though it's recognized more along the lines of like Western medicine and practice, would be counseling. Counseling and therapy, oh my God. Because there is nothing like telling your life story to someone who is not in your family, to someone who is not your friend, but they're still on your side, and you tell them all of these things about your life that you've normalized because the system that you're a part of has normalized it, and them telling you, that shit ain't normal. What you went through is not okay. This and that is actually considered to be trauma. It's great to have a third party be able to objectively look at your life, like I mentioned earlier, and they're able to see all the pieces that stick out that aren't okay and that are harming you, and they empower you to say for yourself and come up with a decision yourself that this isn't okay, and you actually have the power to remove yourself from a situation because now you have the awareness of the situation. Because if we don't think to question something, we can't really fix it. But once it's in our mentality, once we become aware of it, you can do something about it. So let's say that you're not ready for counseling and therapy yet, or you're not at a place where you can afford it. I still got something for you. So here are two things that I like you to do in tandem. What you can do is journal, because that's a great way to become objective to your own story and to your own feelings. I know, speaking for myself, when I'm trying to solve a problem in my head, it's like it's cyclical. It just keeps going in a circle, and I just keep thinking about it, and it gets faster and faster and faster, and I don't get any closer to actually solving it. But when I write it down, it's like I take that circle and I snip it, and instead of a circle, it becomes a line. And the thing about a line versus a circle is that a line has a beginning, it has an end, and it's very measurable. So when you're able to take a problem in your head and put it on paper and turn it into something that's measurable and manageable, it becomes a lot easier to see what's really going on and see the next steps that you can take in order to solve it. Something else about journaling. A lot of people discount the power of writing, but I want you to look at it like this. Writing is actually a form of technology. Humans did not always write. Believe it or not, for a long time, what we did is that we passed information down orally. So we were always limited by what we could remember or what we actually care to pass on to others and to other generations. But now that we have the technology of writing, the things that we talk about, the things that we think about and feel, it can potentially live on forever. But then also, it takes whatever's inside of you, outside of you, so you can really look at it. And then that's another thing too. Other people can look at it as well when it comes down to it, like if that's what you want. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that we take writing for granted because it's something that's so normal to us. But look at it as a form of technology that allows you to just better take what's happening inside of you, put it outside of you so that you have new options with it, And then the other thing that I want you to do is go somewhere new, travel. This could mean going to a different country. This could mean visiting a different city. This could mean going to that coffee shop or that brunch spot that you've been thinking about going to, but you haven't gone to yet. And the reason why I say this is because you remember how earlier I was talking about how, your environment plays a huge role in informing who you are. Your family counts as an environment, but the thing is that once you've been around your family for long enough, and it don't take long, you internalize them. And even when you leave, what you do is that you create whatever you've internalized wherever you end up going after you leave your family. And that's another way that generational curses perpetuate, is because they're inside of us. And we recreate them wherever it is that we go when we're not aware of them. So the reason why I want you to go somewhere new is because it switches up your environment. It breaks up the continuity of the habit of, well, this is what I always do. This is what I'm used to. There's so much that I don't have to think about, and I'm on autopilot because this is what I always do. But when you do something new, it can be the smallest thing. When you go somewhere new, especially, you see different people, you smell different smells, like you're bombarded, via your senses with so much new data, and it causes you to just rethink things and look at things in a different way. Plus, there's a high potential that you're more relaxed, and it's a lot easier to receive guidance when you're relaxed, because depending on how far you go, you're able to leave your problems behind because there ain't nothing you can do about them anyway from where you are, right? But let's say that you're like Samuel, right? I don't have the money to travel as far as I would like to, or Samuel, the state that I'm in, because this is during 2020, there's severe lockdown and I'm really not allowed to leave my home to go somewhere different. What is it that I can do? Well, I got something for you too. So what you can do is actually find a room in your house. Like, let's say that you live with your family and you only have your room, right? Rearrange it. Completely rearrange the space. If you have an entire apartment to yourself, switch up your apartment, move your furniture around, take down the art and put up some new art, even if you have to make it yourself. Change your environment so that the environment around you is different, and it creates new neural pathways, which also creates new opportunities for you to get caught up in the moment and realize that you can make a new decision, because that's what it's all about. And you know, something that I meant to mention earlier about generational curses and the reason why counseling and therapy, having a spiritual advisor is so useful. The reason why just the idea of objectivity is useful is because generational curses are passed down. Like, if we were to get super logical about it, if I had to explain it to a person who don't even believe in all this stuff, right? I'll be like, well, let's say that a generational curse is that, you know, the men in this particular family, they get heart attacks at around 45, right? Well, the thing about family is that this is a very insular, very close group, and 9 times out of 10, you share a lot of the same habits. You eat a lot of the same food, you go to a lot of the same places, you do a lot of the same things. So essentially, another way that you can look at a generational curse is that it is a harmful yet unquestioned set of habits that have long-term effects intergenerationally. That's another way you can look at it if you don't believe in all this other stuff, right? And what's really important about that is that you become aware of these habits and you're able to become objective, which gives you the ability to remove yourself energetically from what's going on so that you can make changes within of yourself. Now, if you're the type of person who wants to help and save your entire family, what I want to tell you is that Michael Jackson in Man in the Mirror, he was right. If you start with yourself and you start changing yourself, it will affect the rest of your family, even if it appears that they're being resistant. Because remember, a family is a system, and you are a part of that system. It's kind of like with a spider web, how if you poke it or prod it at any point, the entire thing moves. Or how if you have an ocean, if you put like a drop of water in there, it's still going to create a ripple to the point that you can't see it anymore. You remember how earlier I said that when you're not objective, when you're not aware of what's happening, generational curses can propagate because the environment, the system, the machine is shaping you. Well, when you have this awareness, what happens is that you're able to remove yourself, reorient yourself enough that you can begin affecting the machine. And that's by changing yourself. Because since you're connected, any changes that you make to yourself and your life and your beliefs, your healthy habits, right? That's gonna be felt by the rest of the system. Whether it's other family members hearing about it, whether it's them actually seeing you, you know. And when people are used to things being a certain way for a long time, they'll create pushback, because what they know, even if they don't realize it up here, they realize it here, is that if you change, they're gonna have to change too. And if they're invested in their lives remaining the same by you remaining the same, they're gonna fight back if you try to change. So keep that in mind, that that's a possibility. That's how much power you have when it comes to changing the system, the family, the organism that you're a part of, is that if you start changing too much, you might actually start experiencing a bit of pushback. So let me see if I have anything else in these notes. Yes, one last thing. So another thing that you can do that is free And it is a spiritual fundamental to the point that even I'm guilty of not doing it sometimes. Because I'm beyond that, right? You're never beyond the fundamentals. Meditation. And the thing about meditation is that it can seem so unappealing because of the way that it is popularly presented, where you gotta sit on a mat, cross-legged with your eyes closed, and moaning and shit. Like you don't have to meditate like that. Meditation looks different for different people. One way I like to meditate is that I like to take long walks in nature or in beautiful neighborhoods. I'm by myself, I'm with my thoughts, and as I'm walking, the rhythm of me walking facilitates the rhythm of my thinking, and it helps to clear my mind. My mom, the way that she meditates is that she likes to sit outside with her feet on the ground, connect to the earth, and she just thinks. Or, she'll go fishing because that's something that's very relaxing for her. And the reason why meditation is important is because it gets you to relax, and all of that information that God or whatever it is that you believe in is trying to get to you can finally slip in, and you can finally see it for what it is. That's another way that objectivity and awareness can take place, is that if you slow down enough to actually see what's going on around you, you will have the opportunity to change it. That's one of the reasons why being busy, like being too busy all the time, can be so harmful, like so damaging to your life, beyond the point of exhaustion, beyond, fatigue and all that type of stuff. When you're moving too fast all the time, what happens is that you never have time to really pay attention to what's happening around you. So how are you going to change it? So you got to slow down enough to be able to see what's happening. Slow down enough so that everything isn't a blur, right? And you can actually fix your gaze on what's going on and decide whether or not you still want that there. So that's all I have when it comes to generational curses. I may come back and add a few comments or a few things in the description, but I really wanted to get that out there because I wanted to help you realize that with something that makes people feel as powerless as a generational curse does, you actually have a lot of power and you actually have a lot of options. So I gave you plenty of things that you can do yourself. I gave you things that you can research. Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. It's a great book to read, but it also has the mind-body connection resources in it, or you can just get, You Can Heal Your Body by her. Also, I mentioned counseling and therapy. If you want to go that route, something that you can do is, I was going to say if you can find a university nearby, but actually, due to COVID, lots of places are doing therapy digitally. A lot of universities that have counseling programs, they have students that need credits in order to be able to graduate, to eventually get their licensure. So what happens is that the sessions with them are free. And don't be fooled because they're students. They're actually 9 times out of 10, I've been saying that a lot during this video, they're actually really, really good. And the thing is that even just having somebody that you don't know, that don't know you, but is looking at you positively and is immediately on your side, that within of itself can help a lot and go a long way. Trust me. And then also look back into those chakras, because one thing about me is that I look at things a little differently, and the information I gave, I haven't seen it anywhere else. As far as how the chakra system and generational curses connect like that, how the physical generational curses, how they connect with the physical and bodily chakras, how the emotional generational curses connect to the heart chakra, and how the mental generational, I almost said trauma, same thing. Generational curses connect to the higher, more mind-related chakras. So educate yourself about the chakra system, because that'll give you more context to diagnose what's happening within your family and also how it's affecting you. And after all of that, if you decide that that's not enough, or if you're just simply not interested in doing it by yourself, work with me. I help people solve this type of stuff. I came up with this video, come on. So if you want to work one-on-one, you can actually go to my website, www.spiritualbff.com, and you can actually schedule a session. That would count as the solving session. It's called Sam Solves. You can pick that and we'll be able to work together and get to the bottom of this generational curse that you're dealing with. So until then, I just want you to know that you are a treasure worth discovering and you're a map worth exploring. I am your spiritual BFF. Hello. I'm your spiritual BFF who's imperfect just like everybody else. And I'm also your good Ju-Judy. I'll be seeing you around with the next video. Bye, y'all.